Are you looking for a car that's as exciting as being a middle-aged accountant? Well, stick around, because today we're going to decide if the 2013 Honda Accord is a buy or a bust. That's right, we're taking a look at this 2013 Accord. Accord obviously has one of the most tried and true and trusted names in the automotive industry. Probably Accord and Camry are the two with the most brand equity out there as far as sedans. So you might think with that reputation that there's absolutely no way that this car isn't perfect and Honda has everything figured out. Well, stick around, because that might not be 100% true. We're going to take a walk around. We're going to go over the common problems, reliability issues, the good and the bad of the 2013 Honda Accord. Now, I might be forgetting one very important thing to tell you, and what was that? Oh yeah, this car has 300,000 miles on it. Let's see how it's held up. Now let's start up front. You'll see that we have some oxidation on the headlights. Don't worry about it too much. You can clean those up pretty easily, not a huge deal, and you will absolutely see it on something with 300,000 miles and 11 years old. There's chips and there's scratches, a few little dings and dents around the outside here, but ultimately the paint shines really, really nicely, and this does not have a very common Honda problem on this car, but you want to look out for it on others, and that's clear coat peeling. Pretty much every Honda that spent any time outside has some issues with clear coat peeling. It's not a huge issue on this car, I'm surprised. Now, as far as rust, we are in the Northeast. You're probably tired of me saying this if you follow my videos, but this car has no rust issues at all. Really has held up well. If you live in the Rust Belt, I would say you still want to take a look underneath of these every single time. Check out your wheel wells, rockers, all of that stuff, because you might have rust issues if you're in a state where they use some salt. Now, as far as styling, I think Honda actually kind of knocked it out of the park on these. I think these are a perfect looking car for what they are. Doesn't look like something crazy, but I think they just did a really simple and clean, good job on these cars. Now, under the hood here, as you just listened, I don't know how well the camera's going to pick it up, but this is not a particularly quiet engine, especially after 300,000 miles. There is some valve train noise on it. Not a terrible, terrible concern. It's not like rod knock or anything like that. If you're familiar with it, it's been making noise for a while and probably will continue to do so for, however many more miles. The Earth Dreams 2.4 liter under here makes 185 horsepower. Now, who at Honda authorized the name to be called Earth Dreams? That is the stupidest name in engine history. It has to be. Sky Active would be close, but Earth Dreams I think is dumber. It seems like the designers over at Honda put in Google Translate for something else, and this is what it spit out. So just a stupid name. I laugh every time I see it. Other common issues, and these two are big common issues. Starter, probably the most common. Starter goes out, you just basically replace it. Starters are cheap enough. The other one, and this could start very early on in ownership, so you want to ask about this, is oil consumption. These use 0W20 weight oil, and it's just, on any car that's using these real thin oils, oil consumption can be kind of typical. They have to add about every 1,000 to 1,500 miles on this guy. So it is using oil. It does not leak it, but it is burning it. This car has had cats replaced, and I believe that is because the oil is making its way out through the exhaust rather than staying in the engine where it's supposed to. Now, you probably saw the sport badge on the rear of this, and you would think, oh, this thing must be putting out a ton of power and really sporty, and that's really just not the case. It's more interior options than anything else. It is just that 185 horsepower. It is not a fast car, and it does have a CVT transmission. Now, the good news is that Honda has seemed to make a pretty decent CVT transmission. As long as you service it regularly, I think it's about every 45,000 miles, and this one has had that done, it actually works pretty good. I really can't complain. I'm not a fan of CVTs still, but Honda seems to have done a pretty good job with it overall. Otherwise, honestly, it's pretty darn reliable mechanically. Not a lot of issues under here. It is boring, and that's kind of the way it should be. Now we're going to take a look at the interior, and this has something that is very surprising to me, and I don't even know if I'm going to be able to show you on camera. So this car has that ton of miles that we're talking about, so we're going to see some wear in here. Absolutely, totally expected. You can see the sun has actually done a little bit of fading to the door panels, probably to the dash as well. Not terrible, honestly. It doesn't bother me at all. That's not a big deal. However, this does have cloth seats, and the cloth seats have done something really interesting. I'm going to try to show it. They have worn the cloth of it away, and the plastic underneath has now come through. Now, obviously, it's been driven a lot, and I have seen things like that happen. But even the passenger seat and on the sides in places that you wouldn't really normally think would wear have worn in a really, really odd way. I've not really ever seen anything quite like it, but you can see that they're not ripped. So the material, I guess, is held up, but we're fighting bees out here. But it is one of the more odd types of wear and tear that I've ever seen on a car. I assume that it's just a cheaper material, and it's kind of now turned to almost vinyl rather than cloth, because it's complete vinyl showing through. Even in places where it shouldn't be, it must be somehow related to sun damage as well. Moving on from the seats, you can see the dash. Everything looks pretty modern inside here. We do have the typical wear hole through the mat down to the metal on the floor there, which is pretty impressive. As well as steering wheel leather is showing its age. It's not ripped. It's not sticky like some steering wheels get, but you can tell that this has had some miles put on it as well, with the buttons and everything. Shows wears, shifter, all that stuff that you touch. It looks like it's got some miles on it. Now, the electronics interior type issues are actually fairly short because all the electronics work. The dash, I think, is still really modern. I think it's a nice looking interior car, all of those things. One thing I didn't mention on the seats is the foam has definitely worn out over time as well. That's a little bit hard. I mean, these have hard seats from the factory, but it doesn't feel new anymore. Not that you would expect it to. But everything else works inside. There's no check engine light, there's no ABS light, none of those issues around at all. The air conditioning, the infotainment, actually the infotainment system, while not really modern at this point, still has a really nice screen, and works pretty intuitively. I don't hate it. In the back seat, this material is in much better shape. There's still a few spots that you can see some wear, but obviously back seats don't get sat in as much, so it's not like those front seats where they show the wear. The one thing that Honda, I think, does really well is legroom. I think they're really good. The Civic has really good legroom, I always thought, and the Accord is no different. I'm 5'8". The front seat is comfortably where I would sit, and I got miles here. So for a mid-size car, it is doing pretty good. Headroom, actually headroom's pretty good. If you had a really long torso like I don't, you might hit your head, but it's really not too bad. And while we're on the topic of having a lot of space, the trunk is actually what I would consider to be massive. It's a little bit narrow, but the actual depth and everything like that, you could really haul pretty much anything you wanted in here. Now we have reached my favorite part of the video, and that is where we get to do a little road test and check this thing out on the road, see how clunky it is after that many miles. One thing I did forget to mention when we were doing the interior is the sun visors. I'm not even going to touch them. I did earlier. They do not want to go up, down, or anything, and they're falling down. I don't know. Well, I guess I did touch it now, but it goes up okay. But when you try to put it down, the mechanism in here on both of them is locked up. It's kind of crazy, actually. So that has definitely shown some wear right there. All right, we're starting out here, and the engine is, like we said, a little bit noisy. You can even hear some of it inside in a way that I don't love. Once you're on the throttle, it's fairly, minimized. It's not too bad. You wouldn't, I don't think you'd notice it much cruising down out the highway. Now we're letting that CVT just wind up in there. Like I said, I am not a fan of CVT transmissions. I'm not even a fan of this CVT transmission. I prefer it to have like a 5, 6, whatever speed. However, this is a darn good CVT transmission for what they are. So the fact that it's lasted 300,000 miles is just insane. Now, I did lie to you guys a little bit. It actually has between 295 and 296 on it. So we're about 4,000 miles short of the 300,000. So you probably can't trust a word I say now that I said that. What I noticed now, this sport trim comes with some bigger wheels. I don't know if I'm getting some of this because of that, but it definitely has a rougher ride than I would expect. Now, that could be some worn struts and other things in there, absolutely, but there's not a lot of clunking. I'm actually very impressed by that. Now, hopefully you can still see me there. My camera fell over and I'm holding it by hand now, but the old Accord feels good. We're on a bumpy back road, really nothing to be concerned with. We are gonna step on it here and just really feel the power of the Earth Dreams. I'll tell you, it's weird. It has okay power. It's that CVT that I don't love, but it's not bad. It was very smooth, everything like that, but it just doesn't work like a car that I'm used to driving every day. Back from the test drive, and now we're getting into the nitty gritty. We are going to decide if this car is a buy or a bust. Now, it might not be that difficult, to be honest, because this has 300,000 miles on it, minimal maintenance, and it still has the original engine and transmission and is a daily driver vehicle. These cars run probably with this many miles on about $3,000. They're not real expensive. If you get a nice cleaner one with 100 or 200,000 miles, you're looking at probably in that $5,000 to $7,000 range. And that's still a pretty reasonable price for a car that's gonna go 300,000 miles and more. With that being said, we're gonna declare this one an absolute buy. The biggest concern is really going to be that oil consumption. It's annoying. It's becoming all too common across new cars, but as long as you keep your oil topped up, you're really going to be able to kind of go forever with one of these. So if you're all right to look out for some of the other wear and tear items that we mentioned, you're probably going to find yourself really happy with this Honda Accord. This is the 9th generation. They have a great name, and there's good reason for that, and that's because they are just doggone reliable cars. If you have one of these and you disagree, let me know, or if you agree, I want to hear the common problems that you've had. If there's something different, if you think I'm crazy, that's all right, but I just want to know your thoughts and if you agree that the Honda Accord is a buy rather than a bust.
Yeah. Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts, I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong, I won't stop to the top, so you better back